Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the end of Saints Row. So here we are, we finally made it to Saints Row. Well, Saints Row with the word reboot in parentheses. It came out on August 23rd, 2022 to all these platforms. Now, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. This game is absolute dog water, about 10 cans of bounce that ass. Don't believe me? I mean, you probably do, but take a look at the Metacritic score. No, not that one, the one that actually matters.
Shit.
I gotta say, a 2.5 is crazy because that's only 1 point above Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, and that game was on life support by the time I got around to it. Saints Row came out months ago, and the game devs are still updating it with a potential story expansion in the future. Don't get me wrong, I'm not expecting it to pull a No Man's Sky within 4 months, but damn, I guess if you were paying attention around the time they released the promotional material, then you would have saw this train wreck coming. As a matter of fact, how about I show you the promo image that revealed the new protagonist?
What do you think? Well, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Yeah, what am I seeing here?
It's just dicks.
Take a good long look at these characters. I can feel the bigotry just swirling in my body. Yeah, this looks awful, like a Netflix adaptation. I don't know which one I hate the most, but it could be a tie between the two dudes. On one end, we have a super skinny black guy with thick ass glasses and a bow tie. Also, his suit sleeves are rolled up. You know what, now that I'm saying it out loud, it's definitely this guy. I despise him with every fiber in my being. And I know this argument has been tossed out thousands of times, but screw it. Look at the old Saints Row crew and compare it to this one. It's a rather unfortunate sight. Even SR3's group looks great compared to this. Funny how a hacker girl, an auto-tune pimp, a luchador, and an XL Russian kingpin is way more acceptable than page 14 of a Teen Vogue magazine. It makes me wonder if Volition brought in a focus group, and if they did, what kind of crack were they smoking in order to approve of this? Because these guys look like they'd have a heart attack if they heard the first 5 minutes of my average Discord conversation. Hit a shot, you
Damn.
While I tear into this game, I want to give you a question to think about as I'm doing that. Is this what you expect from a story where you're running a criminal organization? Because trust me, there's going to be some parts where you'll be reminiscing about Saints Row 3. So let's get into it. Woohoo. Saints Row: The New Adventure starts with a house party. A suit-clad man named Antonio pulls up to the spot with a briefcase filled with money. By the way, this dude is not important to the story whatsoever. His main purpose is to introduce the boss to the player. What is that? Is that supposed to be a cat? That has to be the ugliest fucking cat I've ever seen in my life. Anyways, here we are at the creation suite, and I'm gonna give a compliment. Not a lot of these gonna be given out, but I like the amount of work that was put into the character creation. The face alone can be edited with a shitload of options, which allows you to create damn near any character you can think of with accuracy. You can even remove the sensors to see some bare breastises, just in case you want to get horny while playing Saints Row. You know, I won't judge you. Actually, I will. There's also the ability to grab gender and bend the absolute shit out of it by changing your junk size. Okay, I'm definitely not touching that. The topic, not the junk. Okay, just to be sure, I'm not touching either. Since the story of the original boss is complete, I'm gonna go with a different look. She's still gonna be a woman though. After all, it's Women's History Month.
You're late.
But this time, she's gonna look less... I'm gonna go with dykey. She's gonna look less dykey. Can I say that? I can say that. Look at this. We went from James Charles to Rosario Dawson, and after we greet Antonio, we transition to the boss being buried alive. The game is implying that one of her 3 friends has betrayed her, so everybody take your bets now. I'm going with the black dude simply because I have the masculine urge to shove him in a locker. We jump back to a few months earlier where the boss is working for Marshall, a private military organization. She's watching an orientation video that's supposed to be funny until her commanding officer interrupts her.
Why are you watching that now?
It's the orientation video.
I know what it is. Why are you watching it now?
This walking talking stereotype is Gwen. She debriefs the boss and her team on the mission. They're tasked with finding and capturing the narwhal, who's currently hiding in a western mock-up town. Nothing much to say here other than the fact that the default crouch button is down on the D-pad. That makes me feel uncomfortable. When we reach the Nawali, the boss tries to arrest him, but unfortunately she suffers from chronic bitch spasms. I guess the confidence was left in the original series. She makes up for it by capturing him after a wild goose chase. Unfortunately, the boss gets no bonus pay because Gwen is a sassy black lady or something. When the boss enters our home, we're formally introduced to the new gang. First we have Kev. He's a DJ who's gay and shit. He be liking dicks and all that. He's also a member of the Idols, a street gang that hates capitalism. Let me guess, the higher-ups live lavishly while the subordinates live in squalor. Commies, man, I'll tell ya. Next we have Eli. Fuck him. What you see is what you get. And finally we have Nina, who's Hispanic, so story-wise she likes cars and art. Fascinating. She's also a member of the Pantero street gang. You might see a little bit of a conflict of interest between Nina and Kevin, but remember, the Saints aren't a thing yet. With the boss getting stiffed on a bonus check and the other dudes not having lucrative jobs, the decision is made to rob a payday loan spot. The gang enters the spot without masks, which is fine, I can suspend my disbelief, but then we're told to go to the junkyard for a switch.
Okay, now you are going too far now.
Like, what's the point of having a switch car, something that is used to get the cops off your trail, if you're gonna have the most distinguishable gang ever just walk in with their faces out? I know the real answer, the game wants you to get into more conflict, but with a different type of enemy. But here's a better way of doing that without making it look stupid. All you have to do is have Nina say that the police are patrolling the city and you gotta hide for a bit. Then she tells you to lay low at the junkyard, and when you arrive, the Panteros get pissy and a fight happens.
Holy nitpick Batman.
Shut the fuck up. After that, it transitions perfectly to the dirt bike sequence, and it's that easy. Although I can't do much to salvage what happens next. The boss tries to escape via dirt bike, but for whatever reason, she thought it would be a good idea to drive in between two cop cars that she saw damn near a mile away. And that's not even the best part. Watch the rest of this scene.
Well, shit. Freeze!
Down on the ground!
You called for a ride?
Yo, this is the second mission, and I already want to give up on this review. It's like they already had an idea for this cutscene, but when they were finished mapping it out, they were like, wow, this makes absolutely no fucking sense. But the deadline is next week, so it's fine. What do you mean backup just disappeared suddenly and we're left with two of the most inexperienced cops ever? I swear, it takes them 10 years to get up. Anyways, the boss escapes with Nina and later embarks on a marshal mission. Antonio's there too, I guess, but who cares?
Antonio is the chief curator for the Santo
Shut up, nobody cares. After a mission involving the idols, the boss is assigned to do some security work at the museum. She's asked by the higher-ups to protect the guests along with the extremely important Enchiridion MacGuffin. You can probably guess what happens next.
We're taking you down!
So the Panteros are the first to attack. They would have been quite easy to deal with if it wasn't for these dumbass guests. I swear these niggas are programmed to catch all of my bullets. Hell, some of them even decided to stop running in the middle of a gunfight. Just a reminder, this game was $60 at one point. And for some reason this bozo decides to test the friendly fire option. I'm gonna be honest with you, I would have shut the Xbox off if I failed the mission because I killed his dumbass. Whatever. Afterwards, the idols make their grand entrance, and now we have to deal with both of these gangs. And after clearing the place, Atticus throws a fit because the Enchiridion was stolen. See, instead of protecting the MacGuffin book, we decided to save a board member named Myra Starr. So in response, Atticus chose to promote us to customer. Wait, it's not a retail job, so that doesn't make any. She was fired. Now, if you've been paying attention for the past, I don't know, 3 minutes, then you realize the big conflict triangle that just occurred, with Kevin being with the idols, Nina being with the panties, and the boss working with Marshall. Well, now the boss is jobless, and Nina wasn't too fond of the idea of attacking the museum, so both of them are moping around in the apartment.
I'm leaving Sergio's group text on red.
Fair.
Wow, watching my character sulk around in her underwear, trying and failing to use a toaster, and then slouching on a couch while purchasing X amount of knives is just giving me the weirdest feeling. It really is like a Netflix adaptation, a bunch of college graduates trying to be gangsters or something. We'll put that thought to the side though. Nina is alerted that the Pantsy Boys are on their way to attack the idols. Unfortunately, Kevin and Erwin, or whatever the fuck his name is, are gonna be in the middle of all that, which means we have to save them.
Can I have a white wine spritzer?
Holy shit, can we leave this guy to die? So the two chicks pull up to the party and clear out the enemies. I guess that means Nina is no longer working with the Panteros. And after a dire Mexican standoff, Kevin turns his back on the idols. Man, what kind of a moron do you have to be where you're cool with one of your subordinates hanging around with friends who are affiliated with enemy gang/organizations? Like, you should have seen this coming. The gang hops in a pickup truck and the boss pulls out her RPG and starts blasting shots from the roof. This is the new way to fire weapons from a vehicle. Yeah, it looks stupid. You should see what it looks like when the car is hitting a ramp. When we escape from the enemy gangs, the good gang tends to Eli's wound, and the boss notices a big opportunity in front of their faces. With the three of them being free from their respective groups, a question is brought up. What if they started their own gang instead? All four of them are interested, and after a brainstorming session, God, that is so lame, the group's first order of business is to find a home base. And in the next mission, we visit a church to see if it's a good spot. A mission, might I add, that is way too damn long. Unfortunately, it's an issue that is common in this game. Here, for example, when we get to the church, we find out that there's a construction crew there.
The boss
Comes up with the idea to scare them off by getting into a bulldozer and causing damage to the site, you know, instead of pulling your gun out and initiating an impromptu track meet. Don't worry, I'm fully aware of the fact that we're told to fuck up the front yard of our soon-to-be HQ, cause that is stupid, but I'm stuck on the fact that the game devs honestly thought that this would be a fun minigame for us. Like, yeah bro, let's put the player in a slow-ass heavy vehicle and have him destroy stuff for about 3 minutes, although it feels like 8 hours. After the bar has been filled, Marshall comes in and now we have some conflict. When we kick their ass, we're told to hunt down a real estate agent that owns the church, and when we find him, we're told to do a series of driving stunts to scare the dude. It only lasts for a few minutes, but again, it feels like an eternity. This part does not spark joy. It's one of those gaming moments when you're sitting there thinking, okay, surely this is the end of the segment, but then you're asked to do more shit like driving on oncoming traffic, and when you're just about done here, the game says,
"Hey, go jump off some ramps, and I swear we're done. Pinky swear."
And the game kept its promise. Now all you have to do is just drive back to the church and take out even more enemies. Holy shit, I want to turn on my stove and French kiss it. Once we rid the church of the idols, we're finally done with the mission. Thank the Lord. Anyways, the Saints are official, and now we have access to a bunch of filler missions. I'm just gonna go through the quote-unquote highlights. In Nina's arc, she tells us that the pandas stole a car. Unfortunately, we weren't able to retrieve it in time.
No!
She never let anyone else drive that car.
Who?
My mom. But when chemo made her weak, I drove her around.
Ah, fuck.
I promised her I'd take care of that car. Ella confiaba en mí.
You like that? You like having all that shit being thrown in your face just moments before a big loss? Like, imagine if in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, there were no Gwen and Peter scenes except for her death, and then Spider-Man turns to Meth Goblin and tells him the history he had with Stacy and why her being dead makes him sad. That would stop you from enjoying the masterpiece that was The Amazing Spider-Man. I can't even say that with a straight face. But seriously, there was more than enough time to establish a connection between Nina and her car. This right here is just lazy. Moving on, we have Kevin's missions, and besides the whole I be smashing dudes and shit part, most of it is about us having to save him. The idols kidnapped him outside of a fitness center. The boss doesn't catch on, but she decides to go out and find him so she can give him his inhaler. Huh, that's a pretty stupid way to meet God. We do end up saving Kev, but the only part that's worth mentioning is this mission where we enter the saloon to find him. See, this is supposed to be a showcase of the unarmed combat system. A showcase of the terrible unarmed combat system. It's too simplistic, it's weightless, and especially glitchy. Now you see what the hell is going on. It really makes you think, why the hell would you have a level where you're fighting multiple people at once with no weapon if this is what it's going to look like? It's as if the game devs know their work is shit and they're loud and proud about it. Like I said before, Kev gets saved, so we're left with Eli.
Hey, Eli. Holy shit, what are you wearing? Should I be concerned?
Well, The Dust Moot event is upon us, and I need to join a house if I want to see the best action.
Guys, I want you to mentally prepare yourself for the next couple of minutes because these are by far the worst set of missions. I'm being dead ass. Are you ready?
The Dust Moot's the citywide LARP I do every year. I applied to join House Duststorm, but they said I don't have enough XP.
Eli is a LARPer, and after digging in the trash, the boss is also now a LARPer. And you will spend the next set of levels wearing cardboard and hitting enemies with fake weapons. Oh god, where do I begin? How about we start with LARPing itself? For those who don't know, LARP stands for live action role playing. It's where dudes will dress up and fight each other as paladins and grand wizards.
We are the Ku Klux Klan. We hate
The point of LARPing is to use your imagination to immerse yourself in the game, but in real life, right? Which brings up a question. Why in the 9 circles of hell would you have it in a game? Like, think about it. Video games try to capture something that most, if not all, can't experience. For example, niggas love, emphasis on niggas love Madden. What? And they love it because it lets them play on a football team, something that 99.9% of us, well, we ain't touching that. And what's one thing you could do in Madden along with other sports games? Create a player. You could fuck around and make a 7-foot tall defensive end, and last time I checked, in real life, you can't teach that. But back on Saints Row, you're doing what you've been doing since the first mission, but now your weapons are shittier and the enemies pretend to die, instead of actually being dead. I'm sorry, is this supposed to be fun? Because in reality, it's... The dumb ape part of me wants to call it gay, but I'm way better than that. So instead I'm gonna call it... Now, totally aware that LARPing has been in a couple of games. Recent examples include South Park Stick of Truth and Sunset Overdrive, although I'm gonna completely ignore South Park because I didn't play either of those games. But I did beat Sunset Overdrive about 2 years ago, so... Wait, this means I'm gonna have to get footage of Sunset Overdrive. In that game, you encounter a group of LARPers with PTSD who help you after you save their king. Okay, full disclosure, I did not care about this part of the story, but at least these dudes were using real weapons. So despite the dorky nature of these allies, they will still assist you against the zombies and robots. It's the same kind of deal, just with help from LARPers. Over at Saints Row, you go from committing multiple acts of murder to being thrown in a world where truly nothing matters, because remember, this is a side story. And before you hit me with,
"These are optional missions, you don't have to do them."
Yeah, that's true, but this is what this game has to offer, and oh boy, is it a bowl of shit. The pace is slower, you can't use any of the right bumper abilities, and more importantly, it's lame. And I'm not judging you externally for being into that kind of stuff, but the point is that this would be way more fun to do in real life than in video game form. It also doesn't give me a reason to like Eli either. Instead, it makes me hate him more because he made me suffer through this 6-car train of human feces. Again, if you saw my face during this mission, you would have thought that I was gonna turn off my Xbox and play in traffic. And it's not like I'm arguing from the perspective of, this series is about gangsters doing gangster shit. This has no place in Saints Row. Which, yeah, maybe if this was directly released after Saints Row 2, the series is kind of miles away from all that. I'm way more focused on if it's entertaining or not, and I'm certain that the vast majority of players didn't enjoy this, barring Reddit of course. See, this is why I think Saints Row 2022 is supposed to be bad, because there's no way the devs looked at this and thought this would be a great addition to the game. Okay, I spent way too many pages on this. To sum up my thoughts about the LARPing in this game, it's boring and it lasts way too damn long. In the final mission, we get into a big battle against some nerd, and Gwen, yeah, she's also a LARPer. The boss has a boss fight, and after we defeat her, we hunt down the King Nerd guy. Great, now that all that fun stuff is finished, we can get back to the main story. The Saints are now fully operational. We even got new recruits after competing in some sort of Fight Club Island Survival Battle Royale thingy. This is the first and last time you'll ever see this place again. I would call it a missed opportunity, but I have no idea what they were going for here. You're just playing a game of weapon roulette while in the dark. When the boss gets back from Fight Island, she proposes that Nawalabi would be a great addition to the Saints. Only one problem though, he's being held at the Marshall Super Prison. I'm sorry, did I say problem? I meant that the process was extremely easy. First we wingsuit to the facility, then we walk through the place with your face being out even though you just got fired. Don't worry, my belief is suspensed. And finally we initiate the shit show escape. The main reason that the Wally was brought in was because of a train heist that the 4 had in the works, but before we can get our Red Dead Redemption on, we gotta do some team building.
Look, you don't know us, we don't know you, but we're putting our lives in each other's hands, so we need to be on the same page. Eli threw out the idea that we should spend a day doing some team building exercises.
Huh.
That's so gay.
No, I'm way better than this. Besides the awful dialogue and the stupid hats, it's really your average run-of-the-mill mission. You go to a location, take out the bad guys, but with slightly different scenarios. Oh, and again, terrible dialogue.
Hey, I murder with gusto. Don't you ever want a day off? A killcation?
Anyways, here we are at the train heist, something that was built up in the last 2 or 3 missions, and no, it was not worth the hype. There were slight changes to the formula, like the tank section, and halfway through running on a train, we encounter Sergio, who's the leader of the Panthers. This guy has to be the biggest thorn on the side of the Saints. He had his boys destroy Nina's car, and he tried to kill us on multiple occasions, which is why it makes complete sense for the Nawali to take him out, instead of the boss or Nina. Wait, what?
Wow, you just killed him pretty hard.
It was nothing.
I know, I just kind of figured I'd be the one to... You know what? It's good, it's all good.
I just want to say that making fun of a dumb story / gameplay choice that you've added into the game does not nullify how stupid it is. Also, I hope you don't mind me just dumping Sergio on you at this point like this game did with Nina's cancer-ridden mother. If it makes you feel any better, we take out 2 more leaders of the idols. Oh wait, I'm gonna have to explain that too. Initiate wallet text. Back to the train heist. Once you split the loot, Natalie thanks the boss and dips. It's sad to see him go. Wait, never mind, he's right there.
Do you want to talk about the money fight scene?
No, I want to keep my YouTube channel. Right now, we are at the final stretch of the story, thankfully. I already talked about the idols mission, so that leaves us with the marshals. Yes, they make one last appearance where they try to put an end to the Saints by using legalese. There's actually a cool scene here where the boss shoots the lawyer for being an ass face. It's not all the way perfect. Maybe if they added a different camera shot. Not even Dante himself can prepare for this kind of hell. With the help of Maya Star, we're given a choice to either fire Atticus or fire at Atticus. I chose the former because the sweet release of death was clouding my judgment. But I'm sure if you decided to shoot Atticus, it wouldn't have much of an effect on the story. And I don't feel like getting footage for it, so I'll just edit his head on a movie death and call it a day.
This is our town, and don't you forget it.
Holy shit, here we are, the party mission, and now we get to find out who betrayed the boss. Was it Nina? Was it Kevin? Was it Eloy? Alright, pencils down everybody. The answer is... the Nawali.
Well, let's go.
You gotta be fucking kidding me. I'm sure you guys understand why this quote-unquote twist makes no sense, but for those who don't, just imagine if you were watching a murder mystery and a story shows 3 potential culprits. But then it turns out that it was a serial killer who did it that helped the main character's grandma across the street or some shit. The beginning of Saints Row heavily implied that one of your friends was going to betray you, but then it turns out that the red herring was in fact the culprit. I personally never bought into the whole charade because, well, look at him. I guess we could just toss this into the misunderstanding of basic story writing pile. The boss finds herself in some sort of dream sequence where she... Okay, guys, can you do me a favor? Can we just skip this part in its entirety? It failed its job of... Yeah, that, and I don't feel like explaining what happens in the sequence. It's monotonous and it's super lame. What's that? You'll allow it in exchange for more uploads? Okay. The boss drags herself out of her own grave and returns to what's left of the party. I'm glad that our subordinates are just as useful as the ones in the OG universe. It turns out that the Narwhal kidnapped the diversity trio and forced them to do some sort of sitcom shit on a mock-up of their own home. Because he's a crazy man, an evil, dubious, nerd, whatever. We make our way to the secret location and confront the Narwhal. The 5 take turns kicking his ass, and after a super cringe squad pose, I'm gonna fucking eat that cat. The final boss fight begins, and you know what, how about I just show you the lowlights instead. First we have the Nawali just tanking the hell out of these bullets. Then we have him throwing a smoke bomb. Unfortunately, we can see his goofy ass running away. There's also him just no-selling my teep kicks. And finally, we got the boss getting bullied by an invisible wall. Sensational. The next section features a helicopter fight, so that's riveting. Once it's shot down, the Narwhal lands on a rooftop. Congratulations, that was your only half decent shot. Too bad it took getting through 98% of the story. The final battle ends with a Mexican standoff. That's supposed to be epic, but nobody cares. The Saints sit on their beach chairs and reflect on past events. The camera zooms out, signifying the end of this godforsaken story. The end. Critique. The story is trash, basura, motherfucking and there's no way that this was done on accident. Think about it, look at this crew for example and tell me with a straight face that you would have been interested in them running a criminal enterprise. And it's a double whammy because both Saints Row fans and general consumers aren't interested in the adventures of the old Navy commercial actors turning gangster. Even if the main characters at least looked the part, the plot was gonna drag them to the depths of hell anyways. I legit couldn't care less about the antagonist, mainly because the game didn't care about him either. Marshall didn't feel like a big threat, even with their futuristic gear, and having Atticus's fate being placed in an unnecessary in-game choice solidified that they had no business being in the story. The Panteros and the Idols were only there as ties to Saints Row's gang warfare aspect. Besides that, jobbers. And with the Nawali, not enough was done to have the audience care about his heel turn. Like, oh no, the most evil looking dude in Saint Cucamonga or whatever turns out to be evil. And what was his reasoning? He was jealous of the boss's relationship with her friends that he could have had if he spent more time with them. And also, he's crazy. There's little build up for the twist, and the game framed it in a way that would make the average player think that it was going to be one of the three that decided to go rogue. I think it's rather obvious that Saints Row has this issue where it keeps building shit up and then tossing it to the side as if we wouldn't notice. It doesn't take a film scholar to point out these examples. As you know, I damn near failed my cinema studies class back in college. Then again, who the fuck builds their curriculum around musicals? Should have called it musical whatever, that's a story that I'll probably never tell. But yeah, my least favorite example includes Gwen. She was the boss's superior, and when the boss got fired, we never hear from her again. In the main story. No, I am not going to acknowledge the LARPing. You would think that there would be a part dedicated to Gwen interacting with the boss post-Marshall, but instead we get nothing. It feels like there's a chunk missing out the narrative. And it's not like I got all lazy and checked out the Wikia. That place is dead as hell, by the way. Outside the story, the game offers side hustles so you can make some money. Full transparency, I didn't play all of them, but I'll happily make the assumption that there's not a single one worth playing for fun. They range from being boring and repetitive to being absolute cheeks. Insurance fraud has to be the one that I hate the most because they had the formula / mechanic that worked and they somehow messed it up. The gameplay in general is also ass. I don't mind the small quirks like the fact that you can activate the CQC takedown that takes way too damn long and the other enemies will just stand there politely waiting, but this relatively new system that consists of fighting bullet sponges until the sponge that takes even more bullets shows up is not the wave. Not even playing on the hardest difficulty this time around, by the way. Saints Row also has this nasty habit where enemies will spawn out of nowhere just to piss you off. Or there'll be moments where they won't spawn anywhere near the mission area, so you'll have to restart from a checkpoint. Gnarly. Oh, and how can I forget? This game is super fucking glitchy. It definitely needed a couple more months to iron out the bugs, or it could have saved me the trouble and be placed on a shelf indefinitely. I will end this critique with something positive. The customization in this game is not bad. There's depth to the clothing, vehicles, weapons, and even character. Yeah, that's the only positive I have for this game. Let's get to the conclusion. Saints Row 2022 has effectively suplexed the entire series in a trash can. There's very little that they can do to redeem themselves, whether it feels intentional or unintentional. Now, as of insert date here, the major DLC pack is yet to be released. Volition did drop a roadmap video with an AI voiceover. I can't believe it.
April, everyone gets a free Dead Island 2 cosmetic pack coming in May, free for all players.
But as far as I'm concerned, I've covered everything that needed to be covered in this game. Okay guys, completely disregard that last statement because I am so late on this video that I finally got around to playing one of the DLC packs. And spoiler alert, it's ass. The story involves an actor who requests the aid of the boss to take out a rival. And after we dispose of the trash, the actor rewards the boss by throwing her off the balcony. It's funny that she's surprised to find out that the actor turned out to be an asshole. Like this dude, he's straight out of a SmackDown vs. Raw character creator. Regardless, the boss quickly recovers from the duff and dump and calls a trio to brainstorm on how she can get her lick back. And since the actor starred in a heist movie, they decide to Ocean's 11 his ass. Well, Ocean's 8 considering how dumb the plan is. How about we break it down? First, we have to get a full body scan of the actor so we can disguise the boss as him by using holographic technology. And then okay, hold on a minute. That is very stupid. Do they not know that famous movie stars have countless photos and recordings of them on the internet? Also, this is the only setup mission before the heist. It was legit the one thing that we needed, and it was readily available on google.com. On that note, we're just gonna make our way back to the original video. Yeah, the DLC was not worth my money. Go figure. Which means that I am all done with the Saints Row series in its entirety. Allahu Akbar. Part of me is glad that I got to go through a franchise that I know so much about, but on the other hand, I've never ran through the 7 stages of grief so many times within a year. I enjoyed playing Saints Row 1 despite how it didn't age too well. Saints Row 2 was still fun even though the PC version was on some shit. Saints Row 3 can go to hell, Saints Row 4's story can go there too, but the gameplay is fine as long as it repents, and Saints Row 2022 can go smoke a dick. Listen though, I'm glad that all 4 of you stuck around despite my inability to drop a video on time. It felt like I was a lonely kid in high school that nobody really paid attention to, and you guys were like the FBI. You saw the potential in me, and you gave me the tools that I needed to get my point across. I am fed posting. On a serious note, I intend on dropping at least 10 more videos before the year ends, and if I don't reach that goal, I will
be very disappointed.
I'll see you later.